If you ever want to see how important estate planning is, just talk to someone who drew the short straw and was picked to be the executor of an estate after a death. My guess is that they'll highly recommend that you've got plans in place before anyone passes away. Most people think estate plans are for the wealthy, and this couldn't be further from the truth. What you own is your estate, and your estate plan decides how that estate will be passed down to your loved ones. There are certain documents that need to be in place, whether you're the estate owner or maybe the children of an estate. They need to be ready, and they make it easier to handle what's already going to be an overwhelming event. In many cases, one spouse or the other was instrumental in handling the finances and investments. Historically, your mom outlives your dad. If dad happened to be the one who handled the finances and dad dies, no one knows about these financial details. So I would recommend to take the time, or maybe have your parents take the time, to make a list of all the accounts and passwords and any special instructions. And I'm not talking about just banking accounts. These would be accounts like DirecTV, Verizon, all of these things that they're going to have to get involved with if they're the executor of the estate or the power of attorney. You also want to go back and review or change how these accounts are set up to make it easier after someone passes away. For instance, if it is a bank account and it's not a joint account, you may set it up as a TOD or transfer on death, and that makes it a lot simpler when somebody passes away that those financial items are passed to the surviving spouse. The estate plan doesn't have to be complicated, but at a minimum, I would have the following documents in place. Number one is the power of attorney. This allows whoever's named the power of attorney to handle the financial matters with whichever company that you're dealing with. Get this in a format that you can easily email it, and if someone does pass away, I would get that death certificate or a copy of the death certificate and attach that to that document so that they both can be sent to whatever company that you're dealing with, so you can handle these things a lot faster. Be sure there's a backup power of attorney. For instance, if your dad was the power of attorney for your mom and your dad passes away, maybe the daughter's the backup power of attorney in case your mom either doesn't want to handle the financial matters or for some reason can't handle those financial matters. Now, power of attorney is easy and simple, but it does have to be notarized. Number two would be a living will. A living will allows whoever it's for to authorize actions to be taken should a terminal condition exist. You don't want to be put in a position to make this decision for a loved one at the time of a terminal illness. Number three, last will and testament. While it won't avoid probate, a will can diffuse certain situations that would arise from not having a will, especially from a second marriage and maybe a second marriage with children. If you don't make that decision, the state decides, and you may not like what the state decides should you be under those conditions. Number four, burial arrangements. This is a huge help to your loved ones in a time of grief. They're not going to make good financial decisions at this point, but it's the first decision they'll have to make, and they'll have to make that decision pretty quickly. So pre-arrangements are critical at a time like this. I would pre-arrange but not prepay. I've calculated about a 2% annual return from prepaid burial money. You can do a lot better with a mutual fund if you're going to set $10,000 aside, and you can just call that mutual fund a burial account, and you'll come out a lot better financially than prepaying. But do pre-arrange. And finally, when the first spouse passes away, my advice before you contact anybody is to get about 3 months of living expenses in their banking account, because it's going to take about 2 months of battling these companies and getting the accounts changed and the names changed on the accounts so you can start using them again. Anything that you think will take 5 minutes will take an hour. Anything that you think should take a day will take weeks. So you want to know what you're up against when you get into this situation. So that's kind of the basics of an estate plan. There's lots of other things we could talk about, like trust. You can get very creative with trust. You can avoid probate. You can do a lot of things as far as handing down your estate to different people with trust. But that would be more of a one-on-one situation that we could talk about together. So thanks for listening.